for the third week in a row, we are organizing a mentoring talk as part of our transformative education drive at AUB. Today's mentoring talk is the 9th talk since we started this initiative in 2016. With this mentoring talk initiative, we are hosting well-renowned individuals to share with us the challenges, obstacles, and failures that they have encountered throughout their rich careers. These talks are, with no doubt, inspiring on so many levels. Perhaps by learning from the mistakes of others, people could spare much of their precious time, frustration, suffering, and even money. Our students think it is the end of the world if they do poorly in one exam. Life is full of challenges. I'm truly thrilled to host His Excellency, Dr. Talal Abou Ghazaleh, for today's mentoring talk. Dr. Talal Abou Ghazaleh is widely recognized as a philanthropic businessman at the leading edge of change. As founder and chairman of the Talal Abou Ghazaleh organization, he has built up an international company operating out of 110 offices to become a global provider of professional and educational services. Dr. Abou Ghazaleh's long-standing commitment to education and training of Arab workers, youth and women, has resulted in significant progress during his lifetime in professional services such as accounting and financial services, intellectual property law, and others. This commitment to education was driven by one fundamental objective, which was to contribute to the socio-economic development of the Arab world. Dr. Abou Ghazaleh received a long list of awards and recognitions. To name few, the Order of Commander of Civil Merit by King Philip VI, the King of Spain, in 2018, the Légion of Honor, Chevalier de la Légion d'Honneur from France in 1985, the Honorary Award for Enhancing the Sino-Arab Relations from President Xi Jinping, the President of the People's Republic of China, in 2016. In addition, Dr. Abou Ghazaleh holds 5 honorary doctorate degrees as well. Before I hand the floor to His Excellency, I want to particularly thank my dear friend, Dr. Manal Abdul Samad, for connecting me with Dr. Abou Ghazaleh and for making this talk possible. Dr. Abou Ghazaleh, the floor is yours.
So now you know who to blame after I speak for bestowing on you the hardship of coming to listen to me. It's Manal Abdul Samad. So don't blame me, blame her, because she recommended me. It's nice to come back to this university and to see a great friend, much more than a friend, Cesar Namour. We spent wonderful years as students together and friends in many fields, including courting girlfriends. And I have one of them sitting here who I got married to after meeting her in class at this university, and we're now married for 56 years. Nuha Salame. And of course, I'm reminded of my early days by the presence of Al Khalifa here. And I have these 2 gentlemen from Ghazia with their father. The father of their grandfather is my friend, Haj Rida Khalifa. So you can see how ancient I am. I belong to prehistoric times. So if there is no agreement of mind between us, it's not surprising, because I belong to an archaeological time zone. So please bear with me and understand that I come from another planet. If I am the friend of Al-Hajj Rida Khalifa, and I'll tell you how we became friends. And I have in the audience two young men whose grandfather is the son of my friend. That's how ancient I am. And I'm very proud of that. To sum it up, I'm 81 years old in April. I'll be, so again, respect the time, the age difference if you disagree with me. Because as Shakespeare said in his play, he said, I come here not to praise Caesar, but to bury him. And I am a great Shakespeare fan. In fact, I wanted to go to study English literature at this great university. I'm a product of this university, as you guess. I graduated in 1960, many years before you were born. But it's a long story. I ended up in the business school instead of studying literature, because I saw a wisdom by a philosopher saying, writers and literature leaders try to tell people about things they don't know and they don't want to hear about. So it's a waste of time trying to be a teacher of literature. But I taught literature. When I was in my freshman year, I was teaching literature, English literature, at schools in the various parts of this country. But to come to the first, and this is one of my earliest photos when I came to Lebanon as a refugee. And the importance of this picture is the jacket, not me. Because we became refugees in summer, 1949. I was 48, sorry. I was 10 years old. Come winter, we didn't have a jacket because we left as we were wearing. So my mother, as a refugee family, took one of the blankets and made it into a shirt. And she's not a tailor, she didn't know how to do it, but it looked like a shirt. And when I went to school in that shirt, in that jacket, When I went, I'm reminded, memories are confusing me. When I went to class with the jacket, students laughed at me because it was a very shabby jacket. Didn't look like a decent jacket. I said, you're jealous of me because I'm wearing a blanket and I feel warm. You wear beautiful jackets, but you don't feel warm. So I have an advantage over you, that's why you're jealous. That's how I thought of life all my life. I have a mechanism inside me which makes miseries, hardships, challenges look beautiful. And I wrote 2 books in my life. One is, I called it from a blanket becomes a jacket. Stories from a life blessed by suffering. I consider suffering a blessing, and I'm very happy that I suffered all my life. And I still suffer, and I enjoy it. I suffer in many more than one way. No, Cesar, that's not what I meant. I wasn't talking about you. No. Now, I believe that suffering is a blessing. I sincerely do. And I can explain in a few stories in that book how, if for example, when I wanted to go to university, I'm making a long story short, there was one scholarship to be at AUB by UNRWA. And it was for one person, and he should be the top student in Lebanon. So I had to be the top student in Lebanon. I had to suffer to be the top student, to be able to earn the scholarship, which I did. So I joined this university under a full scholarship. And I had a wonderful, wonderful generosity from this scholarship. It's not only fees, not only hosting, because I was given accommodation, food, pocket money. I couldn't have dreamt of that blessing because of the suffering. So thanks to having suffered, because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to pay, so I had to suffer to become the top student. And so on. My whole life is a chain of suffering that turned to be blessings. But when I came to Lebanon, I'll spend about 5 more minutes on me, and then I go to the theme that I want to talk about. But because I'm reminded of my friends from Ghaziyah, my father used to have a business relationship, as my father was a leading businessman in Palestine. And he had a business relationship with Ghaziyah, particularly with Hajj Rida Khalifa, who is the mayor of Ghaziyah. So when we were thrown out of our country, he didn't want to go to a refugee camp. He wanted to go and see his friend, Hajj Rida Khalifa. And I cannot tell you how this suffering was a blessing, because I discovered the wonderful generosity and hospitality of this country, Lebanon, particularly the South. Hajj Rida Khalifa passed a message. First, he gave us a villa to stay in. He said, "This is your home." And he instructed every shop in the city, don't take money from Hajj Tufi, which is my father. Any bills they buy, you send the bills to me. This is something which has to be known. There is so much goodness in this world that there are so many wonderful persons like Hajj Rida Khalifa. That was not only money. Hajj Rida Khalifa somehow decided to mentor me. He insisted that every evening I should go and sit in his audience. He used to have a gathering of the senior people in the city, in the village. And I used to, at 11 years, listen to discussions of major and senior people on every subject. And if I'm not there, he says, send somebody to bring Talal. That was my first introduction into how one can learn from older people and more senior people and more wise people. Most of the time we think by the time we get a degree or an education, we don't need to be tutored or mentored by anybody. I'm a graduate. I don't want to go on that, continue with that, because I come here to bury schools and universities. Yes, thanks to AUB for giving me a degree, because I needed it in order to be employed. Universities and colleges give degrees for people to look for jobs, and I'm one of those. Of course, I graduated with distinction, so I can get a better job and more pay, a higher pay. But that was all. I came to university so that I can get a degree and go out and work. That was the concept and the object of education since 150 years. Unfortunately, it is still the same. I challenge any one of you who would say that he is here to become a leader or educator or to everybody who comes to university, any university in the world, he wants a degree. And I did. I'm not only blaming you, and I'm not blaming this institution. Eventually, I'm considering with some lawyers how to sue ministries of education and universities all over the world because they are not doing their job. The job of educational institutions is to graduate job seekers. That's not what we need. And that is disastrous. Look at education, how retarded it is all over the world. And I said this, I spoke, and I hope you are open-minded as the students and the audience at Harvard, MIT, and Columbia, where I spoke last year, and told them the same. I said, don't you realize that not a single one of the dropouts who are leading the knowledge world and who are the wealthiest people in the world did not get a degree? How come? How come you didn't learn the lesson why Bill Gates did not continue his education at university? Or Zuckerberg, or. There should be a reason. It's because we confuse education with schooling, including university schooling. Education is not school. I did not make it in life because I graduated from AUB. AUB gave me the key because at that time, I wouldn't have been employed if I didn't have a degree. But I made it in life not because of what I studied at AUB. I don't remember anything of what I studied at AUB. Not one sentence. Not one word. Not one subject. This is a fact. At the same, in 50 years, you will be saying the same thing. We don't remember anything that we learned at school. This is a fact about education. How come education, unlike medicine, did not develop? And I'll tell you why. Look at education from 150 years to now. What has changed? Nothing. Teachers, students, books, exams. صح؟ في شيء غير هيك؟ This is schooling. A teacher teaches you, you have books to study, there is exams to sit for. Medicine doesn't do that. If you go to any clinic to see a doctor, you would see maybe, at least I talk about Jordan, 20 to 30 to 50 people waiting to see the doctor. Why doesn't the doctor come out to them and give them the prescription, all of them the same prescription? Like in education, you give the same education prescription to every student. While we know that no two brains are the same. It's impossible to find identical brains, like it's impossible to find identical genes. Everyone's genes is different and he needs different prescription. In education, we give the same recipe to every student. We expect every student to have the same mental capacity, the same mental orientation, the same objective in life, the same objective in learning. Education is a disaster. Particularly as of now, when we are moving from the third to the fourth revolution. And this is the second book I wrote, which I would be very happy, Dr. Bilal, I would be very happy to give you as many copies because it's free. I'm not selling it. It's for knowledge proliferation. And I would like in this book that you realize that as of now, we are living the start of the fourth industrial revolution. This fourth revolution, unfortunately, is not like any of the three before. Agriculture was about agriculture. Industrial revolution was about industry. Information technology revolution was about information tools. And this man who's talking to you in 2001 chaired the UN task force which wrote the entire strategies for ICT, information and telecommunication technologies policies in the world. This was the start of technology. Technology becoming a tool to be used. In the fourth revolution, which I call the knowledge revolution, is about everything, is about knowledge in everything. This revolution will not only make things smart, so if I move my head like this thing would move instead of me coming back or somebody telling me, watch it. Everything will be smart. We will be living in a smart world. Nothing like what we have. Our grandchildren, your grandchildren, sorry, not mine. My grandchildren graduated from university, my grandchildren. 3 of them? 4 of them. I can't even count. I don't even know how to count. So 4 of my grandchildren graduated from university. I'm talking about your grandchildren. Will think of you as having lived in the Stone Age. What we are in today and we think is a great and wonderful world, that we are conquering knowledge, that we use technology, that what we live in today is the Stone Age in 50 years. And maybe less. It is, for example, it is expected that by the year 2050, we will reach what we call singularity, which means you and machines. Of course, I expect, I'm always very happy in the morning because I have lived another day. And that is unfortunate for my wife because I'm a nuisance in the morning because how joyful I am. But for you, it is going to be a life in which you and machines live together as one community. You don't use the machine. You live with the machine. Now we use machines. We use technology. Technology will be as smart as we are. In other words, things will have the mental capacity and intelligence that we have. At the same time, you see, you had to adjust. And at the same time, machines that will have this capacity will be able to make us have the same capacity as the machine. In other words, our brains will be able to accumulate and manage as much data as a computer. We will be able to hold in our brains through artificial intelligence, which will change everything in us, in our body, not just our brains, everything. We will be different human beings. And this change will make us more intelligent and will make machines more intelligent. And we will live together in a world of familiarity. We will be talking and doing business with machines more than we do with each other. And I'm not inventing. This is solid singularity, and there is a singularity university in the US that is teaching this science. As for artificial intelligence, MIT this year allotted $1 billion for a school on artificial intelligence. The whole century, this century until its end, is about intelligence, artificial intelligence, which will change everything. What is surprising is what we're talking about and what Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and everybody talks about has been said hundreds of years ago. I'll give you some examples. I'm speaking outside the text. I gave this paper to Dr. Bilal to circulate if anybody is interested in listening or reading my nonsense. But what I would like to say is Let us listen. Rejected by the university because she was a woman. This is 200 years ago. First woman to win a Nobel Prize in physics, and the only person to win a Nobel Prize in physics and chemistry. She was rejected by school. She didn't go to school. You heard about somebody called Albert Einstein? What did he say? He said, school failed me. Albert Einstein failed in school. And I failed the school. It bored me. The teachers behaved like sergeants. I wanted to learn what I wanted to know. And that's why I said everybody has a different brain and needs a different teaching. But they wanted me to learn for the exam, which is exactly what we do in all colleges, universities, and schools. We learn for the exam. What I hated most was the competitive system there, and especially sports. Because of this, I wasn't worth anything. Einstein wasn't worth anything in school. And several times they suggested I leave. This was a Catholic school in Munich. I felt that my thirst for knowledge was being strangled by my teachers. My thirst for knowledge was being strangled by my teachers. Grades were their only measurement. How can a teacher understand youth with such a system? From the age of 12, Einstein, from the age of 12, I began to suspect authority and distrust teachers. Okay, let us listen to what Elon Musk said. Don't confuse schooling with education. I didn't go to Harvard, he says, but the people that work for me did. You know somebody called Alibaba in China? His name is not Alibaba. His name is Jack Ma. Jack Ma said, I told my son, you don't need to be in the top 3 in your class. Being in the middle is fine, so long as your grades aren't too bad. He's kind to education. He's not as nasty as I am. Only this kind of person has enough free time to learn other skills. And we all know that skills now are more important than education. And if you have a skill in anything, I can give you examples of the wealthiest men in the world and the wealthiest institutions, all of whom were uneducated by what we call the education system. But they made it. This modest person was the same. I didn't make it because of the degree. I made it to be able to get a job that earned me money. But I didn't build what I built, which has become in many fields the leading organization of the world. So I'm not an idiot when I'm talking to you. This is not just somebody who's an idiot. Although Shakespeare said, or actually Winston Churchill said, the greatest lesson in life is to realize that idiots are sometimes right. But I'm not an idiot. I built an organization which is the global leader in more than one field, in at least 4 fields. And that is because I taught myself, I learned. It's on my transcript of record, and Dr. Bilal can check it, that I didn't take business, English 101 and Arabic 101. It's written on my transcript, passed by exemption. In my entrance test to see my competence in English and Arabic, my standard was higher than English and Arabic 101. So I was exempted from taking these courses, and I passed them by exemption. Why? Because I taught myself. I came from a school which didn't teach English, high school, Al-Maqasid al-Islamiyya. English was not the top reputation for this school. I didn't study English at that school. But I had to work at night to translate books in order to earn money. So I taught myself Arabic and English. By being a translator, you need to know both languages. And because I had to earn the money to spend on by the way, I worked on every kind of possible job to earn money to spend on a large family that my father assigned the responsibility to me for. And one of the things was to be a translator. I translated books, putting a dictionary, learning while I'm translating, and having translated many, many books. One of them I will never forget, by Trotsky, on strategy and tactics, which was a great education for me on the difference between strategy and tactics. And it helped me in my business as well, to realize that you need to develop strategies and tactical approaches and steps and acts and tools. So having forced to be a translator, I forced myself to be an expert in Arabic and in English, sort of. So that was not education. That was not teaching. That was self-education. I'm saying this because I love you. And as Aristotle said, I love Socrates, but I love truth more. I love this university, and I love all universities who have done, I wouldn't say a good job, done their job in the past. But we don't need at colleges persons who will become job seekers, who will pass exams. By the way, I'm not inventing and I'm not declaring something which is a dream or stupid. In future, you will see that many of the schools of the world will stop and will change to this technology. Particularly, watch the Finland and the Scottish and the Scandinavian experience. The leaders of education and change are not America, not Britain, not China. The Scandinavian countries are leading this change in education in the world. I urge you to follow what is happening in Finland, for example. In fact, my organization signed an agreement with Finland to transfer the experience of education in Finland to this part of the world. What I want to add is, while I say all of this, I don't know if you know, but this says, did you know that big companies like Google, Apple, Starbucks, IBM will no longer ask for your college degrees? This is the future. My knowledge degree was useful because in 1960 I needed a job. But in the knowledge age, you don't need a degree. You need to be an inventor. You need to be an innovator. You need to be a creator. And we have the ambition. We're a very ambitious organization. If we could make it to be leaders in many fields, all over globally, we want to lead the world universities and colleges into graduating inventors and not job seekers. As of October 2018, a few months ago, 4 months ago, we started a college in Amman, Talal Abou Ghazaleh University College for Innovation. A student does not pass an exam or final tests. He passes by an invention. And if he doesn't invent, he doesn't graduate. And they are admitted on this contract. Students sign a contract that I know that I will not graduate if I don't come up with an innovation. In any field, as long as it is ICT based. Because in future, there is no prospect for competition or having any leadership in the world if you invent anything which is only hand-based. It has to be ICT-based. Any field. Online education is ICT-based. Invent something on online innovation, on cybersecurity, on any. And what is an invention? You don't have to invent something new like the automobile. No. Any part of the automobile, if you innovate, which means make a new change which is useful and marketable, is an invention. That's how some countries, like China, Korea, register every year 500,000 inventions. We haven't seen 500,000 things like a new car or an invention like a watch or any change in an existing invention, any development, any innovation in an existing invention. And out of a car, for example, you can innovate 100 different things. The battery, the lights, the design, the steering, every part of the automobile, every part of your mobile can be developed into an innovation. I don't think it's difficult. I sponsor every year, I patronize every year children inventors under 12 years. Children under 12 years. And I graduated a few months ago, 100, the total is 120 young children under 12 who came up with recognizable inventions in many fields. It's not difficult to invent. Everything we do in our organization is our own invention. We have a technology department in our organization, technology, one of our firms, and we invent everything. The way we do business, the way we run our operation, the way we communicate, everything has been internally invented. The world wants inventors. What is Google? An invention which is a computer program. Did you realize that Google, which is worth now 1 trillion, 1 trillion, as you all know, is 1,000 billion dollars. Google, worth 1 trillion, is no more than a computer program. Similarly, Amazon. What is Amazon? It's a network of computer programs. This is the Apple programs, inventions. And these companies, the 5 top companies in the world, are not oil companies, not banks, not real estate, not airline. They're all knowledge companies. Inventions. So you make a choice. You want to be an employee, like I did. But then I realized, as early as 1965, that was my luck. I graduated 60. 1965, I discovered that there is a course in High Wycombe, outside London. And I took this young lady with me to that course in a miserable hotel where we had to line every morning to go to one bathroom. Every morning. We had to stand in line in a hotel that is nothing. And because there was a course there on data processing, that was the origin of computers. When I went to this course, I realized, and that's why I say the advantage is I'm a student. I don't rely on anything that I learned. I learn. I want to learn. I don't want to be taught. I realized that this data processor thing is the beginning of a new thing. I didn't know what it is, but my brain could not accept that this large machine, about 10 meters long, in which you input data and you get it printed, is the end objective of this exercise. That machine of 10 meters long is the root of what you have in your hand, your smartphone or your tablet. It developed over the years into becoming this. But since 1965, I decided I'm not going to be ignorant of this revolution. So I kept following it up. And that's why I was elected to at least 20 global chairmanships in the field of information technology. I taught myself to know what this is. Of course, my wife would say that our children can use the computer better than you. Of course, my hands are not the best part of me. It's my brain. And that's why I failed at this school, although I graduated with distinction. I failed in the typing class. I don't know if you still make it a requirement.
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. At that my time, 1960, it was a requirement. You would not graduate if you don't know how to use the typewriter. And I failed. First year, second year, third year, fourth year. Fortunately, the university was magnanimous enough not to fail a student who's a distinction student because of not passing his typing test. I don't claim at all that I'm a good typist or a good user of a computer. But my brain can think like a computer. I trained my brain. Do you know that I have to wake up every morning? And I don't need a wake-up call. I trained my brain to wake me up. I trained. You know, you can do wonderful things if you decide to become intelligent. And I don't mean, intelligence, by the way, is not given, it's earned. You can earn intelligence by teaching yourself to be intelligent. So what I wanted to close with, and I think I overspoke, I will close by saying, please don't be upset with me if I say you don't need your degree. You need the degree to get a job. But it will not make you a Bill Gates. It will not make you anything in the world, the degree. It will help you get a job. And I'm giving myself as an example. I'm not discrediting you. I'm telling you that this man needed the degree to get a job. But I took my job in order to become something else other than what I studied. And decided that through self-education, and what a great American ambassador in my early years in the 60s said about me, he said, Talal, you are a natural student. And he explained to me how he watched me learn from everything. That made me take this as an advice that I should become a natural student. I learn from everything I see. I learn from everything I do. I learn from everybody, from anything anybody does. I try to become a better person, and I'm as a student. You don't need anybody to teach you. When you graduate, and please graduate. I'm not discouraging you from graduation, because you will need that paper. You will need that paper for everything, because unfortunately, and I just want to close by saying, why is education so retarded? Not just education. Every profession in the world is retarded. Look at accountancy profession. Same thing. Look at lawyers' profession. All what they call themselves professions, and give it the glory of a profession. When I was elected to the board of International Federation of Accountants in New York, and I filled the form and I put businessman, they said, sorry, you have to put that you are an accountant. I said, no, I'm a businessman. He said, no, this is not a place for businessmen. I said, but accounting is a business. He said, no, accounting is a profession. And because of their feeling that accounting is not business, accounting profession is one of the most retarded sectors in the world, and a sector to which I belong. But I changed. And as of next year, our organization, which is one of the top 20 in the world, what you call G20 in accounting, will not have auditors who go to audit books of accounts of companies and government. The program will be the auditor. If you have all the accounting standards and all the auditing standards and you put them in a computer and plug it into the computer, why do you need an auditor? Why do you need somebody who ticks? So, unfortunately, because we are a profession. The World Trade Organization came in I'm shut up. In 1922, her job, she comes, my wife comes with me to tell me, stop talking. That's her only responsibility in the event. So, it's because I'll shut up. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll take some questions. Anybody has any questions? Please raise your hand.
But don't throw anything at me, please.
Well, while you are thinking of some questions, I have a question for you. Tell us about one of your failures.
One?
Well, just give us one.
1,000 failures.
Well, share it with us, please.
But failures are not failures. I mean, there is a misnomer. People say, I failed. You don't fail unless you stop trying. Failure is on the edge. Like, look at a bridge. The bridge has two sides. On one side is failure, and on the other side is success. Failure can lead you to success because you will learn from your mistakes how to do it better the next time. And if you succeed and you don't know how to keep your success and continue to succeed, more success, you will be heading at failure. And that's why our motto in Talal Abou Ghazaleh organization is we try harder to stay first. If you don't try harder to stay first, you lose the position as being first. I failed thousands of times in the sense that you call failing, but that wasn't the end, because every time I failed, I analyzed why I failed, learned from my mistakes, didn't blame anybody for my failure, blamed myself, and decided to try again and do it better. So I can go on telling you for the next 24 hours about my failures.
Thank you. Any questions? Right there.
Hello. How do they learn at your university?
How?
How do students learn at your university?
Thank you very much. A good question. They teach themselves and teach each other. They spend their time, or most of their time, at the incubator, not in classrooms. Classrooms are for discussion, but they are at the incubator, at the laboratory, what you call in science labs. A school, very famous school in Britain, it's called the Harrow. As of next year, will not have any classrooms. Students will be in their hostel, teaching each other, because they have more to tell each other than they can learn from their teachers. I want to challenge, with all respect, and I bow to you, to any professor who can produce any new fact which is not on the internet. Zero. It's impossible. Knowledge is all there in the knowledge world. Knowledge is there. You don't need somebody. Knowledge is waiting for you. You have to look for it. It doesn't look for you. So what we do in this university, our professors are tech advisors. They lead the students how to look for the information they want or knowledge they want, and how to transform it into new knowledge, into creation. They don't teach them. They help them and guide them technically. They don't feed them with information. So at the end of the period, each one, according to his interest and his capabilities, will come up with an invention. He would be working at the incubator on developing his invention.
Any other questions? Like that?
Hello, I have a question. Do you think universities will cease to exist in the future as does not properly educate students?
Yes. Not only me. Every specialist on future of education is 100% convinced that education will become learning. And learning will be in a learning place if you need it, or on your own. Have you heard of a guy called Yankom? Okay. Yankom is a waiter in Ukraine. Not in the US, not in Britain, not in Germany. This young boy works at a restaurant as a waiter. In the evenings, with his own self-learning process, unfunded by any source, government or company, without any guidance from anybody, invented something, sold it to Facebook for 13 billion. A waiter becomes a 13 billion billionaire. And you all use this program called WhatsApp. WhatsApp was invented by a waiter. Isn't it a shame that we universities did not produce a single inventor like Yankom or like Zuckerberg, who started inventing at 19 before he went to college? Before he even thought of going to college, which he did not. There is no doubt, my young son, there is no doubt that education will go through two phases. The first phase, and that's the soonest, in a few years, all universities will become online. A study in the US says that by the year 2022, 80% of universities will not have campus or classes. They will be online. 80% in the US. And the next phase is, since we're learning online, why do we need the school? Because online knowledge is online. And you want to do anything, you do it online. And the problem is, we do everything online except education. You shop online. You send messages to friends online. You look at movies online. You play games online, except education. That's why I'm saying that this profession, like all my professions, like me, is retarded. Everything you do in life is online. You do banking online. Education is still classroom. مثل الكتاب ما اختلف شيء عن الكتاب. كانوا يقعدوا على الأرض والأستاذ قدامهم ومعه كتاب. هلا صرنا نجلس على طاولات حلوة وكراسي حلوة وصفوف حلوة. That's the only change. No question, no doubt. The school is on its way to become extinct.
Dr. Ghazaleh, thank you so much for the talk. Inspiring. I wanted to I would love to hear your opinion. The conveyor belt that the education system is primarily, you go from the entrance and then you come out, like you said, to the job market. You mentioned colleges, but you did not mention high school, middle school, and primary school. Where do you think the innovation should go back to? And what is in your opinion, of course, a necessarily baseline to the masses in terms of minimum English, minimum, this is the argument that they make. Everyone needs minimum math, English, history. At what point should you keep going back into reforming our education system?
What is going? That's a very interesting question. What will change education is your children or your grandchildren sitting in the laps of their mothers, snatching the gadget, whatever it is, teaching themselves or asking their sisters and brothers to teach them. Now, this child of 4 years, and in some cases 2 years, I have seen children at 2 years who are as good at the gadget as you are, definitely better than me, at 2 years. But these children going to school at 4 years know better than their teachers what their teachers want to teach them. And unfortunately, in our education system, we have the lowest competence of teachers for children, because these are only children. You don't have to send high-ranking, distinguished professors like Dr. Bilal to teach students. No, these are children. These children will force the change, because you will need to realize that you cannot teach these children the same way you did. We face this problem now in many schools. They laugh at the teacher because he doesn't know what he's saying, because they have seen on the net the most recent, which he never heard of, because they have the luxury of being on the net all the time. While the teacher has to go and do some shopping for his wife after the classroom, and most of the time go home and have his wife shout at him because he did the wrong shopping, and have to go back with a black face, trying to get and spend the evening in misery. They were having fun at their gadgets. The children of the knowledge age, by the way, the UN, one of its agencies is called the United Nations Information Technology Organization, now ranks nations by the number of digital citizens. Those children who are born with milk and the gadget at the same time in their mouth. These children are described by the UN as digital citizens. People like me are called immigrants, digital immigrants, because we joined this technology world when we were seniors. But those who are born as digital citizens, and they do an annual count of the digital citizens in every country, and this shows the direction of and the ranking of the countries, not anymore by wealth or by income level, by how many digital citizens you have, because wealth depends on the digital knowledge in the future, not anymore on any material or financial consideration. So the change will be forced mainly not by me, nor by professors, nor by colleges, by the children. If the senior and leading knowledge makers in the world, like Bill Gates or like Alibaba, these people, if they didn't go to college, the next step is students will not go to school from the beginning. There will be a revolution by children to go to schools and asking the student to go on the blackboard with a chalk and write. Why? Why should he learn how to write? When he is using his finger on the gadget, he is writing. This is writing. Why do you want to teach me how to write with a pen? He is writing. He is reading. He is learning. So the trend will be children will say, I'm not going to go to school anymore because they are disrupting my knowledge process. This will come very soon. Because the problem with the knowledge revolution is that it is so fast in its development. You can see how every year dozens and thousands of developments happen in every track of knowledge. And because, of course, as we say, technology only moves forward. And any invention breeds dozens of inventions. And these dozen inventions will breed dozen inventions. So the speed of the revolution, of the knowledge revolution, will force this change.
One last question.
What would be the contribution of classical humanities like history and philosophy to this era that is increasingly emphasizing technology? Would they be excluded from such an era, or would there be a way to incorporate these humanities within?
Are you talking about the social perspective?
Yes, about
Yes.
ethics and philosophy and all of these.
Okay. I have few stories on this. I will choose only two. This question, I was on a panel with Bill Gates, and he was asked this question. And his answer was, were we more human when we were living in caves? We were more human when we were living in caves and eating each other as cannibals. Technology has nothing to do with your humanity. Technology...
That's not the question. That's not the question.
I thought it is the question. Anyway, I will continue and then be corrected. Okay. And the other point is, I was addressing a conference like this, and one lady came up and said, and at that time we were talking about only online education. I'm not talking about the death of universities and schools, which many leaders believe in the knowledge world. She said, but this way you will deprive us from meeting our future husbands. We met them at college. I said, yes, I'm an example. But I got a chance to select one out of 10 or 20 women. But on the online, you can choose an Australian, Japanese, Chinese, American, African. You have a wide choice. What happens in the knowledge age?
She was busy. She was not listening to you.
No, she was. I think she was just texting something. It's okay. You know, in the knowledge age, you live two lives. At the time I lived with Rida Khalifa, we had only one life, to talk to each other and to see each other. Now children live the life we live, and at the same time, when they go virtual, they have another life. It doesn't cancel the other life. At one day, we on Fridays, we usually, if I'm in Amman, we get together with our children and grandchildren. And we were discussing something, and the grandchildren were on their gadgets. So I said, why don't you talk? Why didn't you talk to us? She said, we are talking. They were talking to each other, discussing what we are discussing. This is the dual life that they will live. Humanity is the same. What is the difference? Information technology is in everything, is in the way you develop and you invent in humanities, the way you disseminate information in humanities, in literature, in journalism. Everything has to be ICT based and online. And this is the future. We don't like it, that's another story.
So the answer is no. They will be included. So our last question right there, please.
First, I'm a Jubilee School graduate.
School of?
Jubilee School. Of course, you know it. Like, you've been at our school for... Okay. You remember Jubilee School? Jubilee Institute in Amman. Okay, you opened a smart class at our school, and you know our system. We graduate with graduation projects and events, and you've attended many of our events. First, I'm a Palestinian Jordanian, and you've been my role model for a few years. I've been following your projects, your achievements, and all of that, but I just have a question. So you've been mentioning a lot of exceptions about Mark Zuckerberg and Alibaba and all of that. And you've been talking about how degree is not important and how about like university and all of that. But don't you think we should start like fixing the education system itself? So don't you think like these are only exceptions? Like you have many people who can't rely on personal development or personal education. Like for example, I'm running a startup and we're trying to deliver what they need in personal development and in IT and what you are doing, but of course on a small scale, for them to get the skills that they need without like looking online and looking into all of these sources and into all of these data. So I think we should start with the education system itself, with the university itself, just like what Finland is doing, to modify the degrees that we are offering in order to let everyone be the exception, let the rule be the exception. So I'm agreeing with what you're saying, like universities and schools are dying, but we should make them like, we should make them live again. We should modify the system itself so that we make everyone get the opportunity to be just like Zuckerberg and...
You're saying what the president of Harvard said. He said, a tsunami is coming. And schools and universities either change and adapt to the dictates of online and knowledge revolution, or they will be wiped out. If the system becomes like I'm doing at Tech Innovation University, I am avoiding being distinct and wiped out by making that college produce inventors and not job seekers. That's the change that needs to be, that's the change I'm asking for. I'm not asking for closing the universities. I'm saying unless universities change, and it's the heading of my title, Educate Innovators. I didn't say close schools nor universities. I said educate to innovate, and not to have somebody with a piece of paper that says, I graduated.
Let's thank Dr. Abou Ghazaleh again. We have a tradition, we hand a copy of the poster to the speaker. May I ask my team to join me for a group picture with Dr. Abou Ghazaleh? Here we go. Go.